Every developer hates writing tests, right? It's not as thrilling as working on a feature, and after the satisfaction of squashing a bug subsides, writing a test to prevent a regression feels like a punishment. So I once knew this JavaScript developer who, in a passive protest to being forced to write unit tests, snubbed foobar and exclusively used Smash Mouth lyrics as lorem ipsum and JSON objects, which is the best kind of joke, other than fart jokes, because if you get it, joke's really kind of on you because you listen to Smash Mouth. Bearing witness to this whimsical protest had a lasting effect on me. One, I realized testing could be fun and playful and still useful. And two, you can do almost whatever you want when faking it, as long as the test proves that the system is actually doing something and working as expected, and it's consistent, repeatable, and deterministic. I'm Vanessa, and I test real-time audio and video apps and APIs at Daily. So my foobar lorem ipsum is fake media, test patterns, and mock devices. This is foobar. This is foobar. Fake it till you make it. Test patterns for fun and profit. A lot of us take for granted these test patterns that we see every day, like those colors bars before, but they had to come from somewhere, right? And have you ever thought about who made them or why we use them? I have. So after that history of answering those questions, we'll get down to business and we'll look at WEBDRIVERs, a crucial part of testing anything on the web, and we'll look at the test media that's used in them. Then we'll look specifically at the media streams API usual suspects, getUserMedia, and enumerateDevices. And we'll employ some JavaScript trickery to dynamically update fake media, which is particularly useful in more nuanced automated testing. And then finally, we'll look at virtual devices and go over how to create one, because a fake video needs a fake device. Okay, history. Let's dig into some origin stories and understand why we use the test media that we use, because it's fun and interesting. It's so ubiquitous, it kind of feels weird to talk about, right? It's not wild to call it the most common test pattern in the world. Bars and tone, SMPTE color bars, or as it was called in patent 2,742,525, granted in 1956, color test pattern generator. Inventor credit goes to David Douglas Holmes and Norbert David Larkey while working at RCA. These two Daves created what they called the world's first digital graphic, a picture produced electronically with no light, no lens, no film, and no photoelectric surface. You may have heard that it won an Emmy, and this is true, at least an evolved and improved HD version made by CBS Labs did in 2002. While it was developed to calibrate broadcast equipment and thus yield profit, it's been in the public domain since 1973 and has heavily influenced open source libraries. ffmpeg's default test source is this, and gstreamer's video test source is this. Personally, I have multiple, I touched the mic. I have multiple Laserdiscs for calibrating home entertainment setups featuring SMPTE color bars. And they're also in pop culture. Elliott Smith wrote a song about them, and they're in my favorite Demuxed music video. While color bars are forever iconic, one cannot, in the year of the Lord 2022, talk about test patterns and fake media and not talk about. As test media experts know, Big Buck Bunny is a 10-minute open source 3D animated film made in Blender, the free and open source 3D creation software. It was made at the Blender Institute in Amsterdam in 2008, and its popularity is indeed in part thanks to its permissive usage license, Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 to be specific. This license allows you to share, copy and redistribute the material in any medium or format, and adapt, remix, got a little happy with the clicker, transform and build upon the material for any purpose, read, testing, or fun, even commercially, profit. The code name of that film was Project Peach, which was a follow-up to Blender's Project Orange, which produced another 3D animated short called Elephant's Dream. And while both are open source, Big Buck Bunny's animation, as everyone knows, features quick motion and fine detail, perfect for testing. Also, my hunch is that VBB is more commonly used because it has no dialogue. And a crucial aspect to any test media is its ability to not drive the folks writing and running tests insane. One of my test audio tracks at Daily is Jack Kerouac reading beat poetry, and I'm pretty sure all of my coworkers hate me for it, but maybe I'll sub in fart sounds now and see how that goes over. But back to Big Buck Bunny. You can find it on YouTube, Vimeo, and even Netflix if you know where to look. It doesn't show up in searches, and the title image cards can be misleading. See here, this is Carly Speck and the Tomorrow Squad. And while now it's unsearchable, people always seem to find test media. I like this one subreddit comment that says that Carly Speck appears to be some sort of educational kids show. Yeah, it's funny. You can also watch Elephant's Dream on Netflix with a direct link, and it's seen here with no title and a generic, dare I say, test image card. Recommended after watching that is a cornucopia of other test material. I was drawn to Netflix's own aptly named test patterns. Information and background origin stories being my goal, I navigated to the URL featured at the top left of the screen. And instead of a media agency or a tech house site, it surprisingly led me to a blog about online gambling, of all things, which I don't know about you, but I did not see that coming. Further internet searching led me to discover that Archimedia Technology was bought by Grey Meta not long after this test pattern was created. And that explained the URL presumably being bought by cyber squatters, but I really wanted confirmation of that theory, and specifically, I really wanted to know who is the girl in that picture. I mean, probably a stock photo model, but you never know. Anyway, I emailed Grey Meta and asked if anyone still worked there from Archimedia Tech, and to my pleasant surprise, I was put in touch with Chi, who knew all the details. Anyway, this is Katie. She's 4 years old in this picture. She's at a toy stand in Taipei while she was there vacationing with her family. So now you know. All right. My search for bizarre test pattern backstories finally led me to the delightful conspiracy theory meme, WEBDRIVER torso. Some of you may remember back in 2014, the internet was a buzz about the YouTube channel with curious patterns. It featured tens of thousands of 10-second videos with blue and red rectangles appearing on the screen, accompanied by random tones. So it was something like, anyway, you get the idea. They're all like that. The internet had lots of theories. It was a guerrilla ad campaign. They were puzzles to recruit secret agents and spies. These videos were attempting to communicate with extraterrestrial life forms. No, they were extraterrestrial in origin. Sadly, it was none of these, though admittedly, I would like to think that if they reached out, alien life forms would totally rickroll us, like this test did. So obviously, it was a test channel. Videos uploaded and compared to source video files for quality control. The channel still has over 2,000 followers, now including yours truly. And a good lesson here is that people will find your test media. I really appreciate Fufflecat's comment on the latest 10-minute video of blue and red boxes. Probably the best episode of the season yet. So those of you who rickroll deep in WebDriver will get the torso joke in this, but every joke is funnier when you explain it, so let's talk about WebDrivers. WebDriver is a W3C spec for remotely controlled browsers, primarily intended for automated testing. Each user agent has its own implementation, and it's essentially a browser one can interact with programmatically. You most likely have heard of it working in tandem with a testing framework such as Selenium or Cypress. WebDrivers commonly run headless, meaning there is no GUI. Headless WebDriver, WebDriver torso. It's not ha-ha funny, but it means it's clever. So now we're going to take a look at the fake media streams provided to test real-time video and audio in a WebDriver. As you can see, they're all different and have varying degrees of customization options. In this section, we'll go over how to bypass user permission prompts, fake media options, and uncover some lesser-known test material. Let's start with Firefox's getUserMedia. If you write WebRTC apps and tests, perhaps you've seen this fake media stream of constant color fade. For some reason, it gives me strong FBI warning at the beginning of a VHS tape vibes. I don't know why, but I wondered if some sort of nostalgia inspired this fake media stream. So I dug through Firefox's source code. And at first, it was a pretty casual perusal, and I'm a big fan of silly command lines. So using this ffplay command, I watched 3 seconds of every MP4 in the code base. I promise I have a life. This turned up lots of other test rendered material. Most of it's pretty utilitarian, as you can see here. Lots of, Pac-Man. And of course, there are some classics among them that you'll always recognize. I also looked through the JPEGs with this command and found a few gems. So there's moon surface, someone's cat, this background clip art, some pretty sus lunch meat, and of course, Mr. Rick Astley. Shout out to my coworker, Sana, who helped pull me out of that rabbit hole and helped me find the commit for the code that actually generates the video fade. There's an elegance in its simplicity, and I love the comment by the commit author. This makes it more obvious that they're actually doing something and it's working. It sums up the essence of all test and fake media patterns, right? They are whatever they need to be to show that our code is actually working the way we think it should work and that it's doing something over time. So how do we use this media in getUserDriver? Well, here's the option to skip the user permissions prompt, media navigator permission disabled. And here's the option to use the color fade fake media. Media navigator streams fake. Tea, Earl Grey, hot is what I hear every time I say those words in that sequence. And you can't easily pass in a custom video track, but you can pass in a fake camera name with media getUserMedia fake camera name, and voila, Rick's camera roll. Then there is Safari. Safari provides us with little in the way of customization, but you also don't have to pass in any special arguments or to bypass permissions or use the fake media. And pro tip, you can always use the provided mock video feeds in Safari proper as well as the driver. It's listed under Develop, WebRTC, Use Mock Capture Devices. You get your choice of Mock Video Device 1, emulates the front-facing camera, or Mock Video Device 2, which is the environment-facing camera. Okay, even if you aren't a WebDriver connoisseur, you'll likely be familiar with Chromedriver, which provides this very green Pac-Man test media. And I can only assume that it's definitely inspired by the classic film pre-roll countdown. To get this chipper Pac-Man into your test, you skip the user permissions with use fake UI for media stream, and use fake device for media stream gets you the Pac-Man. If we stop there, we see all the green Pac-Man. Okay, now, close your eyes for a second. Go ahead and close them. And think of a time you wrote a test. If you have a blank mind right now, you should write more tests. But for the rest of you, in that test, was there some sort of fake data that you needed to generate? What did you choose? Why did you choose it? Was it foobar, Rickroll, the last comment that your coworker uttered, or the last video on your phone? It just has to accomplish two things: prove something is being done and that it's actually working. You can open your eyes. With Chromedriver, the world is your oyster, and you have the option to pass in whatever rendered media you like as a test stream. I like bright colors, and I needed to distinguish between multiple call participants, so I made lots of different background colored Pac-Man as a tribute to the Chromedriver's Pac-Man. Use file for fake video or audio capture makes custom medium possible. And be sure to use a Y4M container for your video, and Wave is fine for audio. All right, now this section is more about a test design pattern more than a test pattern design. Passing in test media like Big Buck Bunny at the WebDriver level means all streams are Big Buck Bunny for the session. If we want to dynamically change our test media, we have to be a little adventurous. So after a quick review of enumerateDevices and getUserMedia, we'll briskly step through some JavaScript code to provide a dynamic fake stream, aka a gum wrapper. But first, enumerateDevices. It lists available media stream providing devices. And getUserMedia, aka gum, returns a media stream object. Okay, let's look at how to alter gum's behavior. The code we're about to look at pulls what I like to call an Indiana Jones, though I do not condone theft. Remember in Raiders of the Lost Ark, when he switches the idol statue for a bag of sand? That's basically what we're about to do here with JavaScript. When getUserMedia is called, instead of returning the actual media stream, we're going to return a different one. So my favorite way to accomplish this is with a JavaScript proxy object. Proxy objects are for functions what WebDrivers are for browsers, invaluable for reflection and testing. If you know about JS proxies, you already see where I'm going with this, but for those who don't, proxies are a built-in function object in which one can wrap any object or function and set a trap for when a certain property is accessed. One can then just observe or modify the behavior of a trapped property. And I said it's a trap, so. Really? No one's going to laugh at that? Ouch. Okay, well, now we'll go through the code at light speed. Before we actually set the trap, we create a video element, and we set the source to our desired test media. Then we define the trap in a handler object, which is code that will run every time our target function, getUserMedia, is applied. And if the GUM call requests video, we play our video, and we capture the element stream and return it wrapped in a promise. And if video is not among the arguments, like if GUM is being called for audio, for example, we use reflect.apply, which behaves as if there was no proxy. Some caveats here. In Chrome, use video capture stream. In Firefox, use the Moz prefixed capture stream. And in Safari, video capture stream is unsupported, so make up something on a canvas and capture that stream. All right, with that, finally, to create the proxy, we pass in getUserMedia as the target function and the handler object, which defines the apply trap, and then there you have it. A GUM wrapper that dynamically provides custom fake streams, all from the comfort of your browser console. All right, yeah, it's fairly hacky, but I promise the building won't collapse when you use it. Probably. Now you might think, Vanessa, what about enumerateDevices? Can we do the same thing? I haven't had as much success applying a similar hack here, but you're right. We've talked about media streams. Streams need to come from somewhere. And this brings us to virtual devices. A virtual device is a software, as opposed to hardware, media stream providing thing. They're super handy for when you need to test switching between devices and you're working from beach where you don't have your external webcam with you because it might get sandy. So unlike Safari's mock devices that are only available in the browser, a true virtual device is available to all media stream consuming applications. And in this section, we'll go over a few ways to create a virtual camera. But before we do that, let's look at what we already have. We use enumerateDevices in the browser, but options abound to use the command line to answer the question, where are my devices at? On Linux, there's ffmpeg with Video for Linux and Video for Linux Control. And on Windows, and on Mac, there's ffmpeg with AV Foundation and gstreamer Device Monitor, which is also available on Linux. OK, so now let's make a virtual device on each of these platforms. If you reside in the open source Utopia OS that is Linux, use Video for Linux loopback liberally. It allows you to create a virtual video device from the command line. Shout out to my coworker Alesh, who creates a mock device with a custom fake stream in just 2 commands. First, use modprobe to add the Video for Linux loopback device module to the kernel. And this one uses device ID 15, and it's called Edgy Alesh. Then generate video with gstreamer. And this one pulls in images from the actual video camera device, applies a fun filter, and outputs to the virtual device, ID'd 15, and voila, Alesh is indeed edgy. If you live in Windows land, I don't know what to tell you. I haven't spent significant time there since 1995. So sorry, not sorry. But if you, like me, make your home in the macOS ecosystem, well, we are at the mercy of the APIs Apple bestows upon us. And those of you who are brave enough to tackle Xcode development know how idiosyncratic and tedious developing a camera extension can be. And don't worry, this isn't WWDC Redux, but suffice it to say, a new system extensions API is in, and cumbersome device abstraction layer plugins are out. System extensions control is your friend. Among other things, it lists the extensions that are currently installed. All right, and in non-developer mode, this one's big. Apps installing a camera extension must be run from the applications directory. And finally, to truly disable and delete an extension, one must reboot the machine, which results in breathtakingly short uptimes. These were all things that I learned while making this staggeringly basic camera extension app. To install the virtual camera, one must go through the security and privacy rigmarole, which is happening off screen from this recording over here. But then, that's pretty much it. The virtual camera is immediately available. Another shout out to Edgy Alesh, who graciously added gstreamer to it to give it a pretty Bezier curve ponging video stream, perfect for all your macOS WebRTC testing needs. Because I want to save my coworkers and you all some development time, you can find this camera extension on GitHub as is, or use your own test pattern. Maybe color fade bars is I'm really hoping that someone makes color fade bars, so putting that out there. Anyway, there you have it. Party trivia about a few common test patterns and way more than you ever wanted to know about WebDriver fake media. I hope you take away some handy ways to fake video streams and devices, but if you take away nothing else, remember, People will find your test media. So choose wisely. As the smash-mouth quoting JavaScript developer said, it sucks when a test fails. Why not choose test material that makes someone smile? A good point there. I would phrase it, have fun with testing, profit will follow. I know I went over a lot very quickly, but I'm happy to talk after, and I'm happy to hear about what test media you all use. Thank you.